His hand lingered on my hip, longer than it should have. It was not a casual brush or an innocent gesture. It was deliberate, warm, and grounding. And my breath caught before I could hide it. I looked up at him, ready to correct whatever had just happened, but the way his eyes held mine made my words dissolve in my throat. They were not the eyes of a boy I raised. They were the eyes of a man who saw me, all of me, in a way no one had in years. My chest rose and fell faster, my heart pounding, as if it were trying to outrun the moment. Somewhere deep inside, a door I thought was sealed shut creaked open, and something dangerous slipped through. Before I take you into this story, I want to pause for just a moment. I want to thank each one of you who has subscribed to this channel. Your support means more than I can express, and for all the new and returning viewers who are yet to hit that subscribe button, I truly cannot wait for you to join us. It is the fuel and energy that keeps stories like this coming your way. Do not forget to share your thoughts in the comments as soon as you finish hearing this. I want to know what you feel about what I am about to tell you. My name is Jessica Turner, and I am 43 years old. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in North Carolina, USA. From the outside, my life looks simple. A two-story house with a trimmed lawn, the faint smell of roses from the bushes I planted last summer, and the kind of silence that only comes from living alone. I was married to Mark Turner for 17 years. Our marriage ended in a way many do. Slowly, quietly, without dramatic fights, but with the dull ache of two people who stopped seeing each other. Within months of the divorce being final, he had remarried. She was younger, softer, and full of the admiration he once had for me. My only son, Ethan Turner, 22, left for college 4 years ago. I had not expected him to move back home so soon, but a sudden job opportunity in the city fell through, and he arrived back at my doorstep with 2 suitcases and a smile that felt warmer than the sun I had been missing. At first, it was exactly what you might imagine, catching up on lost time, dinners at the table again, movie nights where we fell asleep halfway through. I was simply happy to have company, but something was different about Ethan this time. He had grown into his body, broad shoulders, lean muscle, a confident stride. His voice carried a depth and calm that was not there before, and the way he looked at me, it was subtle, but I felt it. His gaze lingered an extra second too long, as if he was searching for something in my face. One evening, I was in the kitchen making dinner, wearing a light sundress. The heat of summer clung to my skin, so my hair was pinned up loosely. Ethan came up behind me to reach for a glass from the cupboard, and his arm brushed mine. It was nothing, but I felt my stomach tighten. "You look nice today," he said casually, pouring water into his glass. I smiled, masking the sudden flutter inside me. "Thank you. It is just this old thing. Old or not, it suits you," he replied, his voice softer than usual. The days that followed were filled with small moments I could not ignore. He would stand a little too close when talking to me. His laughter seemed to deepen when I laughed, and there was one evening, the one that truly set everything in motion, when we were watching a late-night movie. I had curled up on the couch with a blanket, and he joined me, sitting close enough that his thigh pressed against mine. At first I told myself it was the cramped space, but when his hand rested casually on the edge of the blanket, and his fingers brushed mine, I felt a spark so sharp it stole my breath. I glanced at him expecting him to move, but instead he smiled, slow, almost no. It happened on a Saturday. I had been gardening in the backyard, and he came out with 2 cold bottles of water. My hands were dirty, so he held the bottle up for me to drink. I laughed at the gesture, but when I leaned forward, his other hand went to my hip, steadying. It was natural, it was innocent, until it was not. He did not let go immediately. His palm rested there, fingers firm yet gentle, and my body reacted before my mind could stop it. Heat spread through me, in a way I had not felt in years. I met his gaze, and that was the moment. The moment I knew something inside me had shifted forever. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every detail of that touch. The guilt gnawed at me, whispering that this was wrong, that I was his mother. But there was another voice, quieter yet more persistent, that told me it had been a long time since I had felt seen, desired, alive. I did not know it then, but the line between us had already started to blur, and once a line like that begins to fade, there is no going back. The days after that touch were different. The air in the house felt heavier, charged with something unspoken. Ethan and I still moved through our routines. Breakfast in the morning, separate activities during the day, dinner together in the evenings. But beneath it all was a current neither of us wanted to acknowledge aloud. I told myself it was my imagination, that I was reading too much into things, but my body betrayed me every time he was near. When he walked past me, I noticed the scent of his cologne lingering longer than it should. When his voice called my name from another room, I felt my pulse pick up. It was a Friday night. I had poured myself a glass of wine and was sitting on the couch flipping through television channels. Ethan came in from a run, his shirt damp with sweat, his hair messy. "You want me to pour you a glass?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He nodded, breathing heavily. "Sure, but I am going to shower first." I expected him to disappear upstairs, but instead, he dropped down into the armchair across from me. He took off his shoes, stretched out his legs, and then his eyes locked on mine. "You look nice tonight," he said. It was not the first time he had said something like that, but tonight his voice was lower, more deliberate. I felt my cheeks warm. "Thank you. It is just a casual evening." "Maybe," he said, leaning forward slightly, "but you could make anything look good." The words hung in the air between us, heavier than they should have been. When he came back from his shower, he sat next to me on the couch instead of the armchair. The space between us disappeared quickly. We talked about his frustrations with his job search, about my struggles adjusting to life after the divorce, about memories from when he was little. There was laughter, yes, but there were also pauses. Those pauses were not awkward, they were I could feel it in the way he looked at me during them, like he was deciding whether to say something or do something. I took another sip of wine, but my hands were trembling just slightly. I set the glass down, not trusting myself to keep it steady. It happened so quietly, I almost convinced myself it was an accident. I had leaned forward to reach for the remote on the coffee table, and his hand brushed my knee. But instead of pulling back, his fingers lingered there, warm, steady, deliberate. My eyes stayed on the remote in my hand, but every nerve in my body was focused on that touch. "Ethan," I started, my voice unsteady. He did not move his hand. Instead, he leaned in closer, his voice low. "You have been lonely, Mom." The way he said it was not a question. It was a statement, one that stripped me bare in an instant. I turned my head toward him and we were closer than we should have been. His eyes searched mine and I felt something break inside me. Something that had been locked away for years finally pushed through. When his lips touched mine, it was soft, almost tentative, as though he was giving me one last chance to stop him. I did not. The kiss deepened. My hands, almost without thought, found his shoulders, and his hand slid higher on my thigh. Every part of me screamed that this was wrong, but another part, the one that had been starved for touch, for intimacy, for being truly seen, drowned that voice out completely. When it ended, we just sat there breathing heavily, our foreheads resting against each other. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. Finally, I whispered, "We cannot." "I know," he replied, his hand still on my leg, "but I do not care." From that night, everything changed. We were careful around others, but in the house, the distance between us kept shrinking. A brush of his hand in the kitchen, his voice at my bedroom door late at night asking if I was awake. It was intoxicating and terrifying. 2 weeks later, a neighbor named Carol dropped by unexpectedly to return a casserole dish I had lent her. Ethan answered the door shirtless. She chatted politely, but her eyes flicked between us more than once. After she left, Ethan smirked. "She suspects something." I shot him a look. "Do not joke about that." "I am not joking," he said, his voice almost teasing. "I think she sees." That night, while I was lying in bed, I heard my phone buzz. It was a message from an old friend of mine. "Jessica, I need to tell you something. People are talking." I stared at the screen, my stomach tightening. The line we had crossed was no longer ours alone to hide. The message from my friend would not leave my mind. People are talking. It was a short sentence, but it carried the weight of an entire storm. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table staring into my coffee, my thoughts 1,000 miles away. Ethan walked in, hair damp from the shower, smiling like nothing had changed. "You look worried," he said, pouring himself cereal. "Someone sent me a message last night," I told him, my voice low. "They said people are talking about us." He leaned against the counter, unbobbed. "Let them talk," but I could not dismiss it so easily. In a small neighborhood like ours, Whispers had a way of becoming truth, even if the truth was twisted. That afternoon, while I was out watering the front yard, Carol, the same neighbor who had seen Ethan shirtless, strolled over. "You have been spending a lot of time with Ethan," she said lightly, but her eyes studied me. "It must be nice having him home." I forced a smile. "It is. I missed him while he was away." Her gaze lingered on me a moment longer than it should have. Then she nodded and walked away, but I could feel her suspicion pressing on my back. It was only a matter of time before the rumors reached my ex-husband. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was Mark. "Jessica, what the hell is going on?" His voice was sharp, controlled, but I could hear the anger beneath it. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "I am talking about people saying you and Ethan are too close. Do you have any idea how insane this sounds?" I swallowed hard. "Mark, you do not get to call me and stop," he cut in. "If there is any truth to this, you need to think about what you are doing. This is not just your reputation, this is our son's life." His words cut deep, but before I could defend myself, he hung up. After that call I became hyper-aware of everything. The way Ethan looked at me in public, how often he touched my arm or brushed past me. Every small act that might seem harmless to others now felt like evidence waiting to be used against us. I tried to put distance between us. I told him I was busy, spent more time in my bedroom, avoided sitting too close on the couch, but the more I pulled away, the more he sought me out. One night he came to my room and closed the door behind him. "You are avoiding me," he said. "I am trying to protect us," I replied. "We cannot keep doing this." His jaw tightened. "I am not ashamed of you. You should be," I whispered, my voice trembling. It all came to a head 2 weeks later. I was at the grocery store when I overheard 2 women from the neighborhood talking near the produce section. "She is sleeping with him. You can tell." I heard her ex found out. "He is furious." The blood rushed to my ear. I abandoned my cart and walked straight out of the store, my hands shaking. When I got home, Ethan was in the kitchen. I did not even take my shoes off. "This has to end," I told him. "People are not just talking, they believe it. Mark believes it. I cannot live like this." He looked at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he said something I never expected. "Mom, there is something you do not know," he began. His voice was softer now, almost hesitant. "I came back home because I wanted to be close to you. I have felt this way for years, but that is not all. I am not Mark's son." I stared at him, the words not making sense at first. "What are you talking about? I did a DNA test last year. Mark is not my biological father. You never told me who my real dad was because you probably did not know yourself at the time, but I found him, and he is no one you have been in contact with for decades." The room seemed to tilt around me. The guilt, the fear, the moral weight I had been carrying, all of it twisted into something else entirely. Still wrong, still dangerous, but no longer what I thought it was. Ethan stepped closer. "So tell me, now that you know, are you still going to push me away?" My breath caught. I could still hear the whispers of my neighbors, the warning in Mark's voice, the weight of judgment that would never go away. But I could also feel the pull, that dangerous, intoxicating pull that had started with a single touch on my hip. I knew whatever I chose would change everything forever, and in that moment, I realized I was not ready to let go.